The carbon cycle is an extremely important process of how the Earth deals with excess carbon in its atmosphere. Trees are vital to this cycle, and if society keeps clearing forests and vegetation, carbon or carbon dioxide will be too abundant in the atmosphere. However, this is how the carbon cycle works. First, carbon dioxide, or CO2, enters through the stomata of the leaves. Then, it is mixed with sunlight, and through the process of photosynthesis, the tree can produce its own sugar. The sugar is then distributed throughout the entire tree and into the roots. Trees then use this sugar to respirate. They respirate because they need energy to sustain themselves. However, when trees respirate, they release carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide is released into the soil, and it can be used by other trees in the surrounding area. Also, consumers who are in the area can eat any part of the tree, and they also consume carbon, such as the cow drawn to the left of the tree. However, consumers are not the only ones who eat parts of the tree. Leaf litter, or fallen leaves and branches, are broken down by decomposers such as detritivores. They are organisms like worms and millipedes. They slowly break down leaf litter so carbon can sink into the Earth's crust to eventually stand still and form fossil fuels that will sit underneath the Earth's surface so it does not pollute the atmosphere. However, humans are burning fossil fuels more than ever, and if we do not find a clean source of energy, we will continue to destroy our atmosphere and release too much carbon for the Earth to handle. An angiosperm is any plant that has flowers or fruit in order to reproduce. The angiosperms are a large classification of producers that include shrubs, grasses, plants, and most trees. Flowers are the reproductive components of trees, and they contain both sets of male and female gametes. This is sexual reproduction. The female reproductive system is made up of many parts. First, the ovary, and inside the ovary is the ovule where the egg is held. Above that is the pollen tube, and on top is the stigma. Altogether, these parts are called the pistil. The stigma is sticky and grabs a hold of pollen flying by. The captured pollen then travels down the pollen tube and into the ovule to fertilize the waiting egg. The male reproductive parts consist of an anther and the filament which attaches the anther to the flower. The anther is responsible for creating pollen, which houses the sperm. The pollen is responsible for fertilizing the egg. The egg develops into a zygote, and then into an embryo. Then the ovule becomes the seed, and lastly, the ovary grows into fruit. This fruit can potentially be eaten, and then excreted to new lands the tree can grow in. Then, under proper conditions and the right soil, the seed can germinate and begin to grow into another tree so the cycle can start again. There are other components of a flower that are not responsible for reproducing, such as petals. Petals are bright and colorful to attract pollinators. Pollinators, such as bees, are responsible for carrying pollen from one flower to the next, which helps expedite the reproduction process. However, pollinators, such as birds and bats and insects like bees, are not the only ways plants can distribute the pollen. Wind can also distribute pollen to other plants and fertilize the egg.